We begin with big changes and big trouble for one of America's most famous jails. Rikers Island is now facing a lawsuit from federal prosecutors and demands of change from the mayor of New York City. RT correspondent Alexey Yaroshevsky is following this story for us from New York.
Well, the city officials may be happy with the measures they've implemented at Rikers, but the federal prosecutors are not. 4 months ago, they came up with a blistering 79-page report citing a lot of cases of violence towards underage inmates within Rikers. This report suggested that at least 44% of underage inmates were subjected to excessive use of force at least once. This amounted to more than 1,000 injuries last year alone and more than 560 cases of excessive use of force. Now, the report was very graphic and went particular on some of these cases. Let me just cite a few of them for you. On numerous occasions, the underage inmates were beaten in the head and face at an alarming rate. Officers took inmates to isolated areas without the reach of surveillance cameras and beaten severely. More specifically, one of the inmates reported a skull fracture and an imprint of a boot on his back after being severely beaten by guards. Another inmate reported that he was pepper sprayed right into his eyes from an inch away by the security guard. One of the inmates actually said that he was continuously harassed by correctional staff after reporting that he had been raped by a guard inside the prison. It went even to the point that the underage inmates were crying and screaming for their moms, and some of them even asked to be locked away in solitary confinement for their own safety. Now, the report also suggested that this may not only apply to underage inmates, this may also apply to adult inmates within Rikers, and indeed we do remember in the recent history that Rikers has been finding itself in the spotlight for the very wrong reason. For instance, the case of a former Marine mentally ill inmate at Rikers who basically baked to death in his cell because he was left unchecked by a security guard for more than 4 hours. In a separate case, a jail captain refused to offer medical help to an inmate who swallowed a toxic bowl of soap, and the 25-year-old inmate died afterwards. Now, this report, which came out in August, proposed 10 pages of different remedial measures, but judging by the fact that the federal prosecutors are willing to launch this case now, they are unhappy with the measures that Bill de Blasio hailed as success.
We knew we had to make progress. We knew this was a case where we needed to move quickly, and progress is being made quickly. When we got together a few weeks back, we talked about the need to end punitive segregation for adolescents by the end of this calendar year. Under Commissioner Ponce's leadership, we have now ended all punitive segregation for 16-year-olds and 17-year-olds.
It's also worth mentioning that New York State is just one of 2 states in the whole of the country where the people at the age of from 16 to 18 are charged as adults. And in Rikers, in that particular prison, this amounts to 500 people among the inmates. 51% of them, according to this report, were diagnosed with mental illnesses last year, and at least 2/3 of them were actually convicted with different felonies. Now, the New York City officials are yet to respond to the latest twists in the accusations coming from the federal prosecutors. Alexey Yaroshevsky, RT, reporting from New York City.